Hello, Summit County. Thank you and welcome. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Andi, and this is Yoga with Andi. You're watching TV8 Summit, and this session is brought to you by Samadhi Healing Art Studio. To start off today, we're going to find ourselves in a comfortable seated position. Go ahead and just take a seat on your mat or the floor, and just cross the legs however is natural for you and comfortable. Begin to close the eyes for a moment as we just find focus for our practice, taking a couple slow, deep breaths in and out through the nostrils. Taking a nice deep inhale, begin to lift the head out of the shoulders, expanding through the belly, lifting the chest. And on your exhale, pulling the belly back inward towards the spine, relax the shoulders. 2 more breaths in. And softly releasing everything back out. As we continue to breathe, lengthen out that inhale even longer on this last round. And exhale. From here, we're going to go on and make our way onto our hands and knees for a tabletop position. Going to bring shoulders right over the wrists, knees underneath the hips, finding a nice flat back for our tabletop. We'll begin to take it through a few rounds of cat-cow. As we breathe in, we're going to drop the belly towards your mat, arching the back and lifting through the heart. As we exhale, begin to round the spine, letting the head hang for cat pose. Inhaling back to cow, pressing into the earth, turning the inner bends of the elbow forward. Exhaling back to cat, rounding the spine, remember to relax the neck. Inhale, back to cow, and exhaling into cat. After this last exhale, come back to neutral. Take a glance over your right shoulder, bringing that shoulder towards your hip. And another gentle movement over to your left side. Pushing the shoulder back slightly, kind of creating like a C shape with the spine. Once more to your right. And one more time, making your way over to the left. Coming back to center, we're going to begin to go into our core work. Begin to bring your right arm and left leg off of the ground. We'll have our heel about hip height, and then with our hand, we'll turn the thumb upward. Take a breath in, arching the back, lifting thumb and heel. Begin to extend the foot, pointing the toes, and try to connect that elbow to knee. If it doesn't quite reach, that's okay. We're just bringing it in that direction, contracting the core. Inhale as we lift, and exhale, connect. Inhale, rise. Exhale, release. 2 more rounds. Inhale, arching the back, really getting that full range of motion. Matching each movement with each breath. After this last round, we're going to hold for a full breath as we connect elbow to knee, and then release to the earth. Now before we go to the other side, we're going to come over to your left arm, give it a little break for a moment. Inhale, flying left arm all the way up to the ceiling, and then as we exhale, we'll fly the arm under the body. Slide your shoulder down to the earth, palm is turned upward, hips are elevated above the knees. Option at this point to let your right hand remain on your mat. You could reach it to the ceiling, or maybe you're bringing it around for a half bind, reaching for your left hip. Continue to hold, continue to breathe. Begin to let some space open up between shoulder blade and spine, and remembering to keep our right shoulder nice and open. We'll start to return right hand back to the earth if it's not already there. We'll come back towards our tabletop, and then flying that left arm all the way back up, and then exhale, release. Now coming back to our core series with the other side, begin to bring left arm and right leg off of the earth to opposite limbs here. Feel free to adjust placement of the limbs that are still on the earth. Inhale as we lift thumb and heel towards the sky, and then point the toes as we exhale, elbow to knee. Remembering to engage the lower belly and remembering to breathe. We'll take it through a few repetitions of this on this side. Inhale as you lift, and exhale as you release. Getting that full range of motion again from the tailbone all the way to the chin. Finding gentle movements and matching the breath with the movements. And we'll come up for one more round. Inhale as you rise, and on the exhale, connect, contracting the core, hold, and then release back to the earth. Coming back to that right arm, inhale, right arm open to the ceiling, and then exhale, fly the arm under the body. Top of the hand comes down to the earth, softening through the neck, bringing the side of the head and right shoulder down onto your mat. Again, with the left hand, you could leave it where it's at. You could rise to the ceiling, or maybe you're coming around for a half bind. Any of those options are fine. Find whatever works best for your shoulder and what feels best for your neck. Continue to breathe as we hold. And then we'll inhale, bring that arm back up and over, release left hand back to the earth if it's not already there. Pressing through to our tabletop, fly right arm open back to the ceiling, and exhale, release to the earth. Finding a squared position once again, shoulders over the wrists, knees under the hips, take a breath in, and exhale. Good. From here, begin to walk your hands towards the top of your mat. We'll start to tuck our toes under and push hips to the ceiling for downward dog. Begin to walk out your feet for a moment, finding our first downward dog of the morning today. Bending each knee, dropping each heel towards the earth. We'll have our feet about hip distance apart. And then let's experiment with foot placement. We'll bring our feet nice and wide. Spreading the fingers, find the space between thumb and first finger and press into the earth. We'll begin to bring both knees to a slight bend. Take a look at that space between the knees. Begin to press your chest to the back wall. Feel your attention transfer from the back of the legs now to the spine. 2 more breaths here. And then as you find your last exhale, gently straighten out the legs, releasing your heels back towards your mat. We'll step feet back to about hip distance apart. Take a breath in and exhale. One more inhale here. As we exhale, we're going to end up in a high plank. Option to bring shoulders right over your wrists. If you'd like to modify, you could drop knees to the earth. If you wanted to take a different variation like a forearm plank, you're absolutely welcome to. We'll continue to engage our core as we hold and remember to breathe. On our next exhale, begin to bend through the elbows. We'll come to a low plank, chaturanga, and then pressing into an upward dog and going all the way back to our downward dog. Take your time getting there. Take 2 breaths as you arrive. We'll repeat that round one more time. Take an inhale and exhale back to your high plank. Continue to hold for a full breath. Engage the lower belly. And then releasing through your low plank, begin to find some warmth through the body. Begin to spark up some energy. And we'll come back to downward dog. Finding downward dog once again, we'll take another inhale. We're going to start to walk our hands towards our feet. Slowly finding our way to a standing forward fold. Hips are back at about hip distance apart. And then gently relaxing through the neck, shaking out the head, maybe shaking it yes and then no. Letting any pressure at the base of the skull release, letting the arms dangle. On our next breath in, we're going to rise to standing, begin to engage the glutes and hamstrings. We'll come all the way up to the top. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, palms to heart center. Inhale as we rise. Exhale as we fold. Inhale, coming up halfway to a flat back. Option to have the hands at the shins or fingers at ahead of the toes. We'll take another full breath in. Begin to engage the shoulder blades, pulling back towards the spine. On our next exhale, sliding back to your fold. Inhale, rise to standing. Exhale, release palms to heart center. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to halfway to flat back. Exhale, sliding back to your fold. Find a full breath, relax the neck once again. We'll bend both knees, allow your hands to comfortably meet your mat. Start to walk your hands back to downward dog. Making adjustments so that our shoulders are squared up, feet about hip distance apart once again. Take a breath in and exhale. On our next breath in, we're going to bring right leg off the ground towards the ceiling, nice and high. Now remember to keep shoulders squared as that right leg lifts. We'll begin to add a bend to your right knee, flexing the foot if you'd like, and then lifting knee towards the ceiling. Take an inhale. On On our next exhale, we're gonna bring that foot all the way up to the top of our mat. Gently release it between the hands. We'll find a lunge. Right knee is lined up over the ankle and our back leg is long. Option to keep that left knee elevated, or you could release it to the earth at any point in time. Inhale, right arm to the ceiling. Continue to take a full breath. And then exhale, fold back down to the earth. We'll come up onto our fingertips, keeping hands nice and light. Start to walk your hands forward and let that right knee drift over your ankle or toes. We'll pause here. You could bring hands flat again, or opportunity to grab a block if you have one available. We'll leave our left knee hooked to our mat back here to create a nice stretch through the quad hip flexor area. Continuing to breathe, continuing to exhale, letting that knee release forward. On our next breath, we're gonna start to gently walk our hands back. We're gonna come all the way back towards our left leg now. We'll have our right hand come to meet, and we'll have our left hip lined up over the knee. Front toes are gonna pop up so the foot is flexed. Take a breath in, exhale, letting the spine go long, release chest forward. You could have both hands together. You could bring hands to either side of the leg, or again, opportunity to grab a block. With each exhale, releasing chest towards that right thigh. Keeping spine long, remembering to keep our head elevated, making sure our shoulders do not collapse inward. And then we'll start to gently walk the hands back. As we come back to our lunge, we'll make sure that right knee is lined up over the ankle again. Bring hands to fingertips, keeping them nice and light. We'll prepare for liftoff. Inhale, finding a low or high crescent lunge. Reaching fingers nice and high to the ceiling. Exhale, let hips release downward. Back hamstring can engage to the back wall. And again, you can have that back knee elevated or on the earth. Take another breath in. Exhale, palms to heart center. As we continue to breathe here, we'll take another inhale. As you exhale, we're gonna twist to your right. Go on and bring your elbow to the outside of that knee area. Option to modify by simply hugging the thigh, or if you'd like to take it a step further, you're welcome to fly the arms open. Any of those options, we'll start to look over our right shoulder. Continuing to hold, finding a twisted lunge. Inhale as we come back to center. Exhale, releasing both hands together to the inside of that right foot, and then we'll step heel that foot over towards the outer edge of your mat. So we're gonna prepare for either a low flying dragon or lizard pose. We'll start to let that right knee drift open to the right even further. The inner edge of your foot might lift off, and that's fine. Option to stay at your hands. Maybe you make your way down to elbows and forearms. Maybe you're grabbing a block or blanket for support under the arms. You should feel a nice opening through your right hip area into the outer thigh. Continue to let that right knee drift open as we hold. Returning our focus to our breath at this point. With each exhale, relaxing our hips towards the earth. Noticing any muscle contractions, any areas of tension. Just consciously releasing that as we breathe. We'll take 2 more breaths in this hold. And then we'll gently start to bring that knee back towards your shoulder. Start to return to the hands. Take another big inhale. On our next exhale, take a look back at your left knee. Go on and lift it off the ground if it isn't already. We're gonna hop that foot forward a step and then angling that foot out to the side. As we come up, we're gonna cartwheel our arms up and over, bring palms to heart center, and then we're gonna have our heels about lined up, and then we'll start to just let our hips drift towards that right leg. You could bring hands to the legs. Hands can maybe come all the way down to the block or the earth. And you could adjust foot placement. If you'd like a deeper stretch, you could walk your back leg further back to get into the inner thigh area more. We'll start to come back to center. We'll bring right hand back to the outside of the knee. Take a breath in. Exhale, step right foot back to meet the left. We'll return to downward dog. Find an inhale and exhale. On our next breath in, we're gonna start to walk our hands back towards our feet. We'll find our standing fold. Inhale, rise to standing. Reaching overhead. Exhale, palms back to heart center. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. We'll come all the way back down. Let the head hang. Really let gravity take over for a moment. Releasing that pressure at the base of the skull. Relaxing through the neck. Now we'll inhale to halfway, finding your flat back. Look to the top of your mat. And exhale, release back down. Inhale, rise to standing. Exhale, palms to the heart. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Bend both knees, bring hands to the earth. We'll walk it back to downward dog. Finding downward dog once again, take a breath in and exhale. Next breath in, we'll bring left leg off the ground nice and high. Start to add that bend to the knee, lifting the knee towards the sky. One more inhale here. Keeping shoulders squared. Exhale, step your left foot all the way up to the top of your mat. Gently release it between the arms. Again, you could have your right knee elevated or you could release it to the earth. We'll inhale, left arm open to the ceiling. Continue to take a full breath. And exhale, release it back down. Good. We'll start to come to fingertips. We'll walk our hands forward a little bit. Let that knee sink forward slightly. Start to find your quad stretch, getting into the hip flexors on your opposite leg. And then we'll start to walk it back to neutral. We'll continue all the way back. Let your right hip end up over the knee area. Front toes can lift. Getting into our hamstring stretch. Again, you could have hands at the inside of the leg, hands to either side of the leg, or you could bring hands to a block or pillow, cushion, any type of support you have available. With each exhale, releasing your upper body towards the thigh, towards your mat. Remembering to keep our neck nice and long, making sure that we don't round into the pose. And then we'll start to walk it forward. We'll come back to a neutral position, bringing that knee over the ankle. Make sure everything's lined up. Fingers will come to the mat nice and light. Inhale, lifting off for our crescent lunge. We'll reach for the sky. Hands can reach nice and high. As we exhale, let your hips drop a little bit lower. Continue to engage that back right hamstring towards the back wall. As we inhale, reaching even higher, exhale, palms to heart center. We're going to take a full breath here. Taking an inhale and exhale. Begin to twist to your left this time. Elbow can come to the outside of the knee area. You could hug the thigh, or you're welcome to fly your arms open if that's preferable. We'll look over our left shoulder and elbow area. Continuing to breathe in our twisted lunge, gazing over the shoulder. Keeping that left shoulder open, keeping the heart open. We'll inhale as we return to center. And then as we exhale, release both hands down to the earth at the inside of the foot. We'll step heel that foot over to the outer edge of our mat, finding our low flying dragon or a lizard pose option. We'll start to let the knee drift open. We'll have our hands at the mat, or you could grab a block or blanket. You could come down to elbows and forearms. Take your time. We will have a few breaths here. So enjoy the hold. Bring your focus back to the breath. Let that guide you through these longer positions. You can have that knee continue to drift open. Continue to feel that opening through your hip, glute area. Relaxing the muscles. Relaxing your hips towards the earth. We'll take a few more breaths here. Really begin to use this as a resting opportunity, lengthening out your inhales. We'll take 2 more full breaths. Continue to let the hip open, relaxing the torso towards your mat. We'll start to gently return to the hands. If you're not already there, let that knee return towards the shoulder. We'll start to take a look back at your right knee. We'll lift the knee off the ground, tuck the toes under, and then start to hop that foot forward. We'll angle it out to the side, walk your hands around to your right. We'll come up the cartwheel all the way up to standing. Palms can come down to heart center. We'll adjust to let our hips sink forward. Option for hands at the leg, or hands could come down to the earth. We'll walk our back foot back even further. Begin to get a nice stretch through the inner thigh. Continue to take a couple breaths here. And then we'll begin to gently return towards our lunge, walking it back to center. Left hand returns to the outer part of the foot. And then we'll step left foot all the way back to meet the right for downward dog. Take a breath in and exhale. Take one more strong inhale, focusing on your alignment, making adjustments if necessary. And then we'll exhale, release knees down to your mat. We're gonna go right into a child's pose. Bring your knees a little bit wider at this point and walk your hands towards the earth. You could relax your forehead down onto the mat. Arms could go nice and long, or hands could reach for the soles of your feet. While we're down here, you could walk your hands over towards the right side of your mat. Hips could sink gently to the left. And we'll walk our hands over to the left side of your mat and let your hips sink to the right. And then eventually we'll come back towards the center, take a moment to realign. And then we'll walk our hands towards the knees, begin to bring knees together. We'll come up to a seated position. If this feels okay on your ankle and knee area, you could sit directly onto your heels. If that's a little uncomfortable at the knees, you could actually grab a pillow or blanket and bring it underneath your seat and bring some space between the knees if needed. We'll take a nice big breath in, reaching high. Exhale, palms down to heart center. Take another breath in and exhale. At this point, we'll go on and lift the hips slightly, crossing the ankles, slide back to your seat. And at this point, you can make your way all the way down onto your back. We'll close out our practice in Shavasana or corpse pose. You can come down all the way flat onto your mat or on the ground, bringing legs nice and long, arms out to either side of the body. And we'll close out with a few moments of stillness and silence